by standing. Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With your permission, I'd like to make a statement on the investigation by the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman into the way state pension ages were communicated to 1950s born women. The background to this issue is well known to the House. It arises from how decisions to equalise and raise the state pension age were communicated over a number of years, and the impact this may have had on the ability of 1950s born women to plan for their retirement. It stems from communicating changes in the 1995 Pensions Act that gradually increased the state pension age for women from the age of 60 to 65 to bring it in line with men. The 2011 Pensions Act, introduced under the coalition government, then brought forward the timetable for equalisation and the rise to age 66 for both men and women. It is important to be clear that the Ombudsman was not looking at these policy changes to the state pension age. But between 2018 and 2024, the Ombudsman investigated complaints from 1950s born women into the communication of changes to the state pension age. In March last year, following a lengthy investigation lasting 6 years, the Ombudsman published their final report. In December of last year, the then Work and Pensions Secretary, my Right Honourable friend, the member for Leicester West, provided the government's response to the House. In coming to this decision, my Right Honourable friend gave the Ombudsman's report full consideration and looked in detail at the findings, reviewing all the information and advice provided to her at the time by the DWP. My Right Honourable friend did her job thoroughly and professionally in weighing up all the information before her and then coming to a conclusion and informing Parliament. Since then, as part of the legal proceedings challenging the government's decision, evidence has been cited about research findings from a 2007 report. This was a DWP evaluation of the effectiveness of automatic pension forecast letters. Had this report been provided to my Right Honourable friend, she would of course have considered it alongside all other relevant evidence and material. Mr. Speaker, in light of this, and in the interests of fairness and transparency, I have concluded that the government should now consider this evidence. This means we will retake the decision made last December as it relates to the communications on state pension age. As the House will be aware, the decision announced last December has been the subject of court action in recent months, and we have today informed the court of the action we now intend to take. In retaking the decision, we will review the evidence from 2007 alongside evidence previously considered, and I have of course asked the Department if there is any further survey material or other evidence which should be brought to my attention as part of this process. I understand that people are impatient for this matter to be finally resolved, with the Ombudsman's investigation having taken 6 years before reporting last year. But it is important that we give this full and proper consideration. We will approach this in a transparent and fair manner. However, retaking this decision should not be taken as an indication that government will necessarily decide that it should award financial redress. The work will begin immediately, and I will update the House on the decision as soon as a conclusion is reached. Mr. Speaker, I do understand that honourable and right honourable members will have a number of questions, but I hope that you and the House will also understand that I cannot say anything today which preempts the conclusion of the process that I have set out. Mr. Speaker, I commend this statement to the House.
Senator Minister Mulcahy.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And can I thank the Secretary of State for advanced sight of his statement. As he so rightly says, this is an important, albeit technical statement, and we on this side certainly accept the contents and the spirit in which it's given. It is about a legal process, and we respect all of that. It does relate to a matter of keen interest to many of our constituents, those women who have, as the Minister said, been affected by the changes in retirement age. And known as WASPI, the campaign group Women Against State Pension Inequality has probably met with all of us here in this chamber one way or another. And they will be looking at the point made, I think, by the Secretary of State late in his statement that, and I quote, "retaking this decision should not be taken as an indication that government will necessarily decide to award financial redress." Mr. Speaker, the WASPI women are rightly angry with this government. While in opposition, shadow ministers and Labour MPs stood alongside these women, as the Right Honourable Gentleman did, campaigning for, and I quote, "a better deal for WASPI women." However, when the party opposite won the general election, they quickly apparently U-turned on this position, blaming the fiscal situation they were left with. Indeed, in December last year, the government made a statement confirming their about turn on supporting WASPI women. If I may, Mr. Speaker, I would like to quote my honourable friend, the Shadow Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, when she responded to that statement. She said, and I quote, "Let us be clear. The decision to provide no compensation is the government's decision and they need to own it. I am not going to let them get away with saying that there is no compensation because of a fictional black hole in the public finances. Government compensation should always be based on what is fair and what is just." And she is absolutely right, Mr. Speaker. The government had the choice then to stand behind the women that they said have faced a great injustice, but they chose not to. What we have instead is the Labour Party now fighting them in a judicial review in the High Court. And therefore, whether it be the multiple U-turns on pension and winter fuel statements or the imminent rumoured freezing on the tax threshold in the budget, forcing many pensioners into paying income tax, it is clear this government is not on the side of our pensioners. And this brings me to some questions for the Secretary of State. Firstly, if I may, the Minister for Pensions said in a Westminster Hall debate on the 15th of January on this topic that, and I quote, "we will work with the Ombudsman to develop a detailed action plan identifying and addressing lessons from this and other Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman's investigations. However, to my knowledge, nothing has been released to this effect. Therefore, could he provide an update on when we can expect the plan and what will be in it?" Secondly, in a follow-up to written parliamentary questions by the members for West Dunbartonshire and Newport West and Isleworth, the government said that they have no plans to meet with representatives of the WASPI campaign. Indeed, the last time a minister did meet them was on the 5th of September 2024. So why has this government decided not to directly engage with the group that they once stood shoulder to shoulder with, especially given there is new evidence to consider? Thirdly, during the last 14 years whilst in government, we chose to help pensioners by increasing the personal allowance income tax threshold. However, independent research suggests that 1.6 million more pensioners are doomed to be filling in self-assessment tax returns within the next 4 years, thanks to government's choices that may be made in the budget coming up. Has the Secretary of State had conversations with the Chancellor about the serious impact this retirement tax would have on a group that have been consistently targeted by this government? And finally, Mr. Speaker, why is this government determined to blame everyone else for the decisions they have made? All this statement has shown is that the government wants to keep kicking the can down the road and not be held accountable for their actions. And I think, Mr. Speaker, we should look at the record. Unemployment at 5% is at the highest level since the pandemic, up from 4.2% in June last year. Inflation is now sitting at 3.8%, up from 2% in June last year. Economic growth has flatlined despite having increased by 0.5% in the 3 months before this government took office. Borrowing costs have increased to their highest level since 1998, with 30-year gilt yields reaching 5.2% compared with 4.7% when the government took office. Debt is now 96.4% of GDP, the highest since the 1960s. Winter fuel payments will cut for millions of pensions, only for the government to U-turn on it after feeling the pressure of our strong campaign. The government is set to break its manifesto pledge and increase the tax burden to an historic high. Isn't it true, Mr. Speaker, that this government has been trying to dodge taking any form of responsibility for their actions? What is their problem with pensioners? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm grateful to the honourable member for at least some of his response. I, of course, cannot preempt the conclusion of the process that I set out in my statement. I want to do this fairly and transparently. I do have to say to him, his own government had many, many years to consider this matter and did not come to a conclusion. So I take it with a little pinch of salt when he urges us to go more quickly. He refers to pensioners. We, of course, said that we would maintain the triple lock. We have kept to that commitment, and that will mean an increase of some £1,900 a year in the basic state pension over the course of this Parliament. We remain committed to the publication of the action plan to which he referred, and he referred to the previous Minister for Pensions meeting the WASPI campaigners. He's right that she did so. He was a little more coy about the last time a Conservative minister met with the WASPI campaigners. Perhaps someone on that side could tell us when. I believe it was many, many years before that, and that our minister was the first one to meet the WASPI campaigners for some time. And finally, on the broader economic record, he failed to join me in welcoming the UK having the fastest growth in the G7 for the first half of this year.
To Debbie in the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I thank my right honourable friend for the statement, and I appreciate the technical nature of that. Clearly, it is a concern that this evidence wasn't made available to our right honourable friend, the member for Leicester West, last year, and I know he will be investigating that. And again, I appreciate he won't be able to give a specific date as to when he may be able to conclude what this evidence means for the final conclusions he comes to. But is he able to give a time frame on when he's able to report back to the House?
So stay.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very grateful to the Chair of the Select Committee for her question. I know that she's taken a long and keen interest in this matter. On the matter of timescale, I appreciate that the statement, when people hear it, they will want to know when the conclusion will be. I think it's right and proper that I look at all the available evidence. I said in my statement, I of course have asked the department if there is any other survey evidence or other kind of evidence that should be brought to my attention. So with that proviso, I can assure her and you, Mr. Speaker, that I will come to a conclusion and report to the House as soon as possible.
The Democrat spokesperson, Steve Darling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd first of all like to apologise for inadvertently using the word you at the last time I spoke. So apologies, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. But clearly, the clock is ticking for WASPI women. There are 3.6 million WASPI women across the United Kingdom. That's 500,000 more than the population of Wales. And sadly, a WASPI woman dies every 13 minutes. So I welcome the statement from the Secretary of State. When we've explored this subject in recent months, what I found extremely disturbing was how the Ombudsman failed to engage with the previous Conservative government because they knew there wouldn't be a deal to be made around what the relevant approach would be as far as compensation for WASPI women. So I would plead with the Secretary of State to revisit that world. After all, they are on the record of supporting WASPI women for many years, and look to meet with them and ensure there is a fair deal. There is due to be a High Court hearing next month, and I would implore the Secretary of State to engage positively and bring this to a fair deal for WASPI women.
So stay.
Can I thank the honourable member for his questions. He's right, this issue has gone on a long time, but I took the view that in light of this evidence being cited, that it was the right thing to do to look again at it and at the decision in the round. I cannot speak for the previous government's failure to engage with the Ombudsman. That's a matter for them, but I can tell him that this government is engaged with the Ombudsman on the action plan that was discussed earlier, and we will continue to do so. And as I said, Mr. Speaker, I will come to a conclusion and report to the House as soon as possible.
Final question, Kirsty Black.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. The Secretary of State said as part of the legal proceedings challenging the Government's decision, evidence has been cited about research findings from a 2007 report. Who cited that evidence? Was it DWP? Was it the Government that cited that evidence, or was it the people who are opposing the Government in the court case that cited the evidence? And if it came from Government sources or from within DWP, why wasn't it uncovered before? And can the Minister give us every assurance that he's doing everything he can to ensure that all relevant evidence is uncovered in advance of the next decision being taken?
Mr Speaker, the Honourable lady asked about the nature of this evidence. It is a report from 2007. It's a DWP evaluation, as I said, and the survey was not drawn to the attention of the previous Secretary of State because its potential relevance to the making of her decision was not evident at the time. I will consider this survey and any other relevant evidence in the process to which I referred in my statement, Mr Speaker.
I'm going to suspend the House till 17:15 because of the late notice of the next statement. House suspended.